The strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity is energy. Einstein said something about energy. He said energy cannot be destroyed. But energy can be transmuted. I found the source of my energy, and I'm learning to channel my energy to my highest good. My highest good is in being. In being myself. Welcome to episode 9 of Meeting Myself, the Rituals of Spirit.
So firstly, I want to speak about my past or historic conceptualization of the concept of spirituality, and how I went on to practice it based on how I conceptualized it. So I feel like we share this as human beings because most of us are born into religious systems or religious homes. I was born Christian into a Christian home. I don't know if I was born Christian. I'm not Christian. I can't be born something I'm not. I was just born human into a Christian family. And my idea of spirituality was always attached to religion. Christianity, to be particular, had its own rules and laws, practices, and I guess my idea of spirituality had been attached to those laws and practices. So with the religious perspective on particularly a Christian perspective on spirituality, it translated into knowing wrong from right, condemning wrong within myself as well, defining wrong and right according to the religion and according to the doctrine, and I don't know, I feel like the definition of wrong and right as per religion was always warped. It has always been warped. There are things that the religion would deem wrong or right that I, at some point as I was growing up, couldn't understand why this is wrong and why this is right. I used to be a serious homophobe. And when you grow up and you start learning about people and how they are, how they feel, who they are, you learn about yourself, not even just people, yourself. You start to see how much of who you are is condemned in the practice of religion. And staying in there, for me, started to stunt me in terms of spirituality, as my idea of spirituality expanded beyond the rules of the doctrine, the perspective of the doctrine, as my idea of spirituality got out of the religious context. The religious context started to kind of stunt who I was and really cut me off from the spiritual line. Literally, I don't even want to lie. I think about the kind of person I was when I was religious, the views I had, and just how misinformed I was, and as a result causing harm that had already been normalized, and not even just causing it to the external world and to people, to myself. And I right now where I am at, I can't reconcile the concept of spirituality with hurting myself or dismissing myself or disregarding myself or shaming myself or judging myself. Being spiritual doesn't allow me to do that. But when I was religious, I was allowed to do that, and I would do it. And I lived in a world that was like that normalized that was full of judgment, that was full of shame. I can't tell you how much shame has left my body since I have expanded my perspective on spirituality, because I feel like even like when you are religious and your idea of spirituality is sheltered by religion, you still view yourself as a spiritual person. But I have come to see it as like contradictory perspectives and experiences, because the level of connection and awareness and being I am inside of myself would have never been possible with the perspective of religion. The perspective of religion, like how I described even in the last video, like how I described my society. Religion is very, like, has a very binary perspective on things, black and white things, like right and wrong. That kind of perspective, it doesn't leave room for growth, actually nurturing growth and kind growth and fair growth. It doesn't. I look at so many Christian people and like how they participate in this religion, but like 1 foot in, 1 foot out type thing, because religion itself, that perspective, doesn't allow the wholeness of your experience as a human being. It causes you to judge your experience and not really just be it. And it caused that to me. And I like, with this new perspective on spirituality, I can say fully with my chest that experience did not grow my spirit. It didn't nurture my spirit. It didn't, as a matter of fact, it served it. It chose parts of my spirit that fit into the agenda and caused me to sever parts of my spirit that didn't fit into the agenda. Like I am not like a what do you call it? I wouldn't refer to myself as like a feminine person. And under religion and with the practice of religion, I found myself like consistently working on being a feminine person. Like I literally worked on my relationship with wearing dresses and skirt. Like I literally put myself into it. I started to listen to how people viewed me when I was dressed like that, so that I could be more okay with myself when I was dressed like that. And that removes you from your own experience. You start living your life based on the perspective of other people and not yourself, as if you are not there to have a perspective of your own. And I thank God I'm out of that. I wanted to say, like, so it's that black and white thing, and then it's also like hierarchical, like, and it enforces that like certain positions have more power than certain positions. So it's hierarchical, it's very patriarchal. So like it just is yucky for me to have and exist in a patriarchal perspective of myself. It's just disgusting. And I did it for so long, to reduce yourself to a perspective of the perspective that the world has of womanhood, and the perspective the world has of womanhood only exists in participation with manhood. Like womanhood doesn't exist as its own thing. It only exists in response to manhood. It also inflicted like so much shame in me. Like I felt like my spirituality carried shame. Like it carried shame, and it made room for it, not only towards myself but towards the world as well. Like I wasn't only shameful about myself and how I was wrong in certain ways, and that's not loving yourself. At least for me, that did not feel loving to me, especially to the extent that I know love now, you know. So yeah, so I found my experience of spirituality to be quite shameful, because it was spoken to by a religious perspective. And as soon as like I started to let go of religion, my perspective on spirituality started to feel more like my own. Like I wasn't So I wasn't looking outside to be spiritual. I wasn't looking at like, am I complying with the rules that were written somewhere outside of me? How are people looking at me? Like, I wasn't doing that. I was more inside myself than outside myself. And I find that the perspective I used to have on religion, on spirituality, removed me from myself. Like, it centered external views. It never centered my own, and as such I never got to create my own views. And I find that a lot of people who are religious struggle to create their own views because they are removed from themselves, and therefore you can't create anything if you're not inside yourself. And that's kind of how I used to experience spirituality. And like being religious, my perspective on spirituality being a religious one kept me safe in that I fitted in. I fitted in by wearing dresses. I fitted in by submitting to men. I fitted in by like seeing myself as like a sinner, and therefore not being able to really condemn the world and like the atrocious things that are happening in the world, because like I am part of that. But or like because I'm not God type thing. I don't even understand. Like, I feel like I'm definitely like against religion, but like further than that, like it's such a distorted practice and perspective. Like, it's so contradictory, like in the sense that you are a child of God but you're a sinner. So like it's like, it was very like confusing, like really removing you from yourself, you know. And that's kind of my old conceptualization of spirituality. It was really just rooted in religion. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I have grown, and I thank God for that. The next thing I want to get into is like definitions, you know, for this conversation. I wrote down like 3 definitions that I think are important. The first one is ritual, a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. So that's a ritual. Like, being religious was being ritualistic. Like, being a Christian is literally being ritualistic. However, you can be ritualistic with like and like with actions that are not prescribed particularly by religion, with actions that you decide as a person that like, I want to do this consistently in order to connect to my essence, my spirit, my air. Yeah, so like I guess in a sense my perspective on spirituality was ritualistic while I was religious. It still is, even now that I'm not religious. Now it's the rituals are more spoken to by me and what I feel and what I know I need type thing. And I think that's what it is to be spiritual. It's to listen to the internal and not the external. And then I got the definition for spirit. The spirit. Okay, spirit. The non-physical part of a person, which is the seat of emotions and character. The soul. That is your spirit. The non-physical part of yourself. Your spirit. I feel like we all have... No, I don't feel like... I know we are all spirits. We all have spirit. We are spirit. Spirit is literally this air that I'm breathing in and out that you can't see or touch. Spirit is literally the love that I feel inside myself that you can't see or touch. Spirit is literally the gratitude that I feel every morning for the life that I get to live that you can't see. No one can see the gratitude I feel. No one can see the air I'm breathing in and out. But that is me. That is me. That is a part of me that no one can see, that I have access to. And I feel like because no one else can see that part of you as a person, it is important to learn that part of you, to meet that part of you, to be with that part of you, to be that part of you. I am gratitude. I am the breath that I breathe in. I am the love that I feel. I am the care that I feel. I am these things that you guys don't see, that no one can see, because I have met them within me, and I'm actively embodying them. It also goes on to say the soul. The soul is literally just that, like, compilation of the intangible of you. Your essence, really just your aura, your feeling, how you feel, how you are sensed, you know? Spirituality, the quality of being concerned with the human spirit as opposed to material or physical thing. I think religion poses as this is, it says it is concerned with your spirit as a human as opposed to the material or the physical things. But it literally uses the material and physical things to convince you that it's concerned with your human spirit. You don't need a book to feel your human spirit. You don't need to nurture your human spirit, to care for your human spirit, to be your human spirit. You don't need a book for that. You literally don't even need a church. You don't need any roof for that. Literally all you need is you, and to feel yourself. Literally, that's all you need. And so, like, religion has created all these external things from us. Like, the God of religion is external to us. The place to go for religious purposes is external to us. The knowledge of religion is external to us. Yet, it poses as spirituality. We need to question a lot of things in this reality. I really think we need to wonder more. I feel like, I thought about this the other day, that wondering is really just saying, asking questions. And to be a wonderful person, you need to pose questions. You can't just be just without wonder, and then you think you're wonderful. I'm sorry. Actually, I don't find people who don't wonder wonderful. They just are wonderless and boring. And I like to be a wonderful human being. And being spiritual, and this spirituality has allowed me to tap into my wonder and to be full of wonder. So that's another, like, element of my spirit. My spirit is wonderful, like wonderful. It's filled with wonder. And when you're religious, your spirit can't be filled with wonder. Can't, because all the answers are there. So what are you wondering? Oh, you're wondering you are a sinner. Oh, it's just the cringe, like, practice in reality. And, like, I'm so over it, and I will always shit on it. And I hope I can convert a lot of people out of that shit. So yeah, spirituality, the quality of being concerned with the human spirit. So, like, I found, like, now that I'm spiritual, I am very concerned with my human spirit and the collective human spirit, as opposed to the structures and material things that we have created out here as human beings that we are choosing to center. So let's talk about how I conceptualize spirituality now. My concept of spirituality, like my conceptualization of spirituality now, has cracked out of the confines of religion, the characteristics of religion. It has expanded beyond those. And I think, let's talk about how I do now. Now, like, I would firstly define spirituality as the rituals of the spirit, and what that looks like spiritually, what that looks like practically, is like consistent actions towards nurturing the part of myself that is intangible, that people can't see. So being ritualistic about my spirit is my emotions, my spirit is my soul, my spirit is this air that I breathe. I'm very, very intentional and ritualistic about parts of myself that people can't see, parts of myself that I only have access to. And that's my emotions and that's my feelings. And so like I practice gratitude daily. I remember when I started, I bought a gratitude journal and it was just weird. That one had prompts. Now I can practice gratitude like without any prompts. I know exactly what I mean. I know exactly what that feeling is, and I love it. Like I embody it. The moment I'm deciding that I'm practicing gratitude, I call gratitude into my body. I see gratitude in my outside world and I feel it. So I see it outside there and I feel it within me. That is part of how I am spiritual. I practice gratitude. I am spiritual by being wonderful. What that literally means is like wondering about people, just asking people questions. Like you see how now I'm like very against religion. I will ask religious people questions about themselves and their lives. I'm always like, the experience of wonder, the feeling of wonder is so delightful for me. Yeah, it's so safe and comfortable that I'm ritualistic about experiencing it. When I'm with people, I experience wonder, literally. I fill my body with wonder. When not even just people, when I'm in new spaces, I fill my body with wonder. I fill my mind with wonder. And that is me being spiritual. I'm also spiritual. The other ways I practice spirituality is through meditation. Meditation is really how, like my form of prayer. I sit in silence, or I sit and like listen to specific audios, and I just am in the silence. Like when you're in the silence, the part of yourself that people can't see, which is the silence, people can't hear, is present, and you feel it wholly, fully in the language it speaks. Literally in the language, it's the only language silence speaks is silence. So when I'm in meditation, I am speaking to silence. I'm in it. When I'm meditating, I close my eyes all the time when I meditate. So I am also like in nothing, like I don't see anything. And that is also my spirit is literally that, like not seen, not heard. So that's where I go to meet it. That is how I'm spiritual. That is how that's the ritual I practice to connect and be with my spirit. And further than that, like I really am starting to feel more and more like I am my spirit, more than like it being a part of me. It is me. And the more I am my spirit, the easier this life experience is. Like the more pleasant it is, the easier I can surrender, when I see myself as a spirit, when I become and I am spirit. Life as an experience is much easier to observe, much easier to be in. I don't even have many words to tell you guys about it, because like I'm someone who's really bothered by the ills of the world, like really, really bothered. Not even just like in the grand macro scale, in the sense that we're in a capitalistic patriarchal world, but like I'm really bothered by how these things trickle down to how we behave as human beings, with our stupid homophobic opinions, discriminative views, misinformed. Like the thing I found also about being spirit you are less your body, you are less your mind, you are less your hands, you are a little less your mind, you're a little less your mouth, you're a little less your voice. And therefore you when you are less identified with those parts of yourself and more identified with the spirit part of yourself, it's more that's how you identify with more of nature and more of people, more of I literally sit and wonder what societal structures have cross thought about. I wonder if they think, because my concept of thinking is what I experience when I think. They probably have their own concept of thinking, and it's not what I experience, it's their own thing. And I wonder, like, when you are aligned more with your energy and your spirit, you are more connected to all that is living and all that shares that very spirit with you. Because in your mind you have all these perspectives that some of them are homophobic, some of them are discriminatory, some of them are abusive, some of them are fair, you know. That's in here is how you differentiate yourself from other people. But in your being, in your spirit, that is the one place you are the same as everybody, literally. With your hands, like with my voice, I'm the same as most people here on YouTube, speaking and sharing their perspectives on things. But when I'm aligned with my spirit, I'm the same as anything. The birds flying in the sky, the grass here on the floor, everything that shares spirit, which is all that is living. All that is living lives due to spirit, literally. And aligning more with spirit, seeing yourself more as spirit, is seeing yourself as more of life. Like, I see myself as life, because life is spirit. Life comes from spirit. And when I see myself as life, I can see that life is happening for me, never to me. So I guess in conclusion, spirituality for me are rituals of the spirit. They are spirituality is how I concern myself with my spirit, the part of myself that no one can see and touch. And I used, like I mentioned, meditation, I mentioned gratitude, I mentioned I go into nature, I walk, I hug trees, I ground, I drink water, I learn about different people, I read books, I sit in silence, I consume less, I allow my body to feel about the vastness of reality. So reality is vast, it's just so many things, and I allow myself to feel and to be there and to know that I'm feeling. So I will be fully present in a conversation about discrimination or oppression. I will be fully present because I get to feel the parts of me that are of resistance, the part of me that are strong and are fighters and can stand for something. And it's spiritual to stand in your anger, it's spiritual to stand in your feelings, your emotions. Literally, it's spiritual to sit in them and validate them, because they're not there for jokes. You're human beings, you have feelings and emotions for a reason, and it is spiritual to validate those. It is spiritual to be able to be aware of those. And yeah, I guess I've been, my awareness of my emotions has grown so vastly, so much. Like, it has grown so much. My awareness of my being and how the states that I find myself in has grown so much ever since I expanded my perspective on spirituality and I cracked it out of the confines of religion. I very clearly know now the things that I will not tolerate, the emotions and states that I just won't allow reality to put me in, and the emotions and states that I actively seek in reality and in my experience. I'm more aware of that now than I was when I had a narrower perspective on spirituality. Also, I'm just less judgmental towards myself, man. Everything is just like like when you're following your feelings, life is just easier. Trust me. When you're just feeling and you trust your feelings because you've met them, you've been aware of them, you know what they're telling you, and you're not alienated from them. You navigate the world so much better when you are in tune with your emotions, which are the part of you which are the spirit. Your emotions are energy. They just you navigate the world so much better spiritually. Like I was saying to my friend the other day that I feel like spirituality, how I've come to understand it, practice it, and be it, has been so vital for navigating an oppressive world, an oppressive reality, and creating safety for myself in an oppressive society or world. The expansion of my perspective on spirituality has really made how I navigate life easier. I don't feel guilty about things that I used to feel guilty about. I forgive myself very easily now. I am so much kinder to myself, so much more patient to myself, because I know what patience is. Like, feel it. But now I know patience as far as love allows me to feel it. I know anger as deep as love allows me to feel it. I don't feel anger only to the extent of my fear. No, I feel anger to the depths of love, and I hope like this makes sense, because that's the thing about spirituality. With religion, a lot of fear was the center of my experience. With spirituality, a lot of love is the center of my experience. And it logically makes sense that you're in an oppressive society, so you have to navigate it with fear. But hear me when I say it makes sense beyond the logic of the mind to navigate an oppressive system with love. Love doesn't say don't be angry. Love doesn't say abuse is right. It doesn't. Love sits in the truth. Only fear will kind of chip away at the truth, so that the person who's imposing fear is safe and can carry on imposing the emotion of fear. So yeah, I hope that makes sense, because it really just makes complete sense to me, and not sense in my head only. It makes sense. That's another thing about spirituality. It makes sense, complete sense. You are a sensual human being. You don't sense here only. You sense with your hands, you sense with your heart, you sense. You are like your brain. Your heart is literally a brain of it. It's a brain. It's probably more powerful than your mind, your brain, in terms of this, how the sense it makes. Your heart, it senses far deeper than your brain can. And I think that's the experience of spirituality. It's to sense even the things that are the brain only makes sense of things that you're seeing, hearing, feeling with the senses that are immediate. The heart, bro, that is a deeper level of sensing. And I feel like complete sense includes the mind and the heart. They come together, and that's complete sense. And I find that how I practice spirituality, how I conceptualize spirituality right now, for my experience and for me, makes complete sense. Complete and utter sense. My heart and my mind are literally in sync. So in conclusion, I wanted to talk about why I find it important to really redefine, look at, and like really be aware of how you my own perspective of spirituality, and define and be very clear about it, like why I found that important. So lastly, I wanted to talk about why do I find it important to define spirituality for myself. Because I guess my historic definition of spirituality, even though it was unconscious or subconscious, because I never really with my brain said to myself, okay, this is what spirituality is. I was just born into practices of spirituality. The way the practices of spirituality and the definition of spirituality that I was born into disempowered me, literally. It put my power in men. It literally told me that my power is with men. My power is in a very one specific book that is filled with so much contradiction, that centers fear, which fear is a vital emotion. I have that is a part of me, that is part of spirituality. But like, fear renders you helpless. Like literally fear renders you helpless. And yeah, I guess like my previous perspective on spirituality had me really deep in the feeling of helplessness, which like I feel like all feelings are normal. That's why you feel them, because they are there to be felt, they are valid. But there's so much help in this world for the helplessness that I felt such deep helplessness. I remember I remember actually hearing the word of my emotion, that I felt helpless, from my therapist. This is last year. I had been feeling that for so long in a society and in a perspective of spirituality that is religious. I had been feeling that way for so long, and I was firstly unaware of it, and I didn't even know that's what I was feeling. And only like post being religious and actually actively working on being aware of myself did I realize that like helplessness was was so deep within me, like so deep. I was experiencing helplessness so deeply that like I didn't even know that what I was feeling was helpless. I remember my therapist saying, you feel helpless, ne? For me to be religious and feel helpless is dark as fuck. Because what? Am I not the child of God? How am I feeling helpless? And like I guess like with growth and like with the perspective that I have now on spirituality, I understand helplessness as an emotion, not a state of being, as a feeling, not as a state of being, you know? And I understand helplessness so much that I know what to do with it. It's not a state that I'm meant to be in. When I feel helpless, I find help so that I can stop feeling helpless, because help is there. The reason I feel helpless means that the help is less inside of me. So there's a remedy for that. I can find help and be helpful. And these are only realizations that I'm managing to make once I've expanded my perspective on spirituality. So it felt like I felt helpless, like my previous experience with spirituality really was disempowering. Like I'll say that it was dissociative. It removed me from my own experience and centered the world, and the world was living in my head, because that's how the world enters you. It loads in here and you navigate your existence with this, whereas you have a whole body, you have a heart, which is such a strong organ, and you're just relying on this. This is why they are associating religion with brain damage, because Jesus, I can't even, like, what, like, your whole life you are navigating an oppressive society with your brain only. Do you know how flawed the information in the world is right now? Like we're living in the age of knowledge, ne? And we still don't know so much, but you are existing with this thing. cut I cut. So yeah, I guess like it was dissociative. It trapped me in my head, and that was disempowering. I have so much more power than just this flawed information that lives in the world. No, I have love, I have gratitude, I have peace, I have joy, I have awe, I have wonder. All these things are literally inside my body, not even in my head, and I was just trapped in common sense of the brain which is just consumed with information that a bunch of white people put together and forced us into institutions to consume. Cut with that. So I found it important to redefine spirituality, to take my power back where nature had empowered me. Nature didn't just empower me with the mind. It did empower me with the mind, but it also empowered me with hands, with the heart, with feet, with the grass, with the trees, with dogs and cats. Nature empowered me with oneness. That is feeling, that is emotion, that is spirit. And I had to take that power, especially if I was going to navigate this world. So yeah, that's that on that. And I hope I'm inspiring you guys to define a concepts that you're experiencing. Define them yourselves. You have much more than a brain to use to define things. You have a heart. You can feel about something, literally. Yeah, I think I'm done. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my DM channel. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.